Hi, today we look at the challenges of being gay in Singapore. We look at the laws that ostracizes a large segment of Singaporeans or society that affects housing issues, decisions on health and wellness, and basically the various laws that just make being in a same-sex relationship so difficult here in Singapore. To better understand the situations, we have with us the same-sex couple of Brenda and Perlin, and Andre and Cameron, and we also have the founder of SG Boys, Joshua Simon. Thank you guys for being here today. I really want to know, and we really want to know, the challenges. I mean, we know the challenges out there, but I think the Big Read Unwrapped, it's a platform where we can actually speak about it and share. I mean, two proud parents, the journey you went through, firstly getting married, getting into a union, but there are other challenges in terms of housing, in terms of healthcare, so share with us, I mean, Perlin and Brenda, the journey that you went through, how you guys met, and how you came out to your parents and your friends, and ultimately the steps you took to become a couple, to get married, and ultimately to have this wonderful young girl here.
Yeah, so Perlin and I, we met when we were 17 and 14, and I guess because of our similar background, our family's backgrounds are quite similar, and we met underage clubbing, so we were the kind of kids with no curfew. And then from there, we got together. Within like I would say a week or two, we kind of felt like we've been together for a long time. And I guess it's a lot of people talk about finding the one, right? But I guess when we met, it just felt so natural, like we are just together for a very long time already. And this is our 18th year together.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been like more than half our lives.
So we have common issues that we always hear, housing. I mean, we were talking earlier about the challenges of getting a house. Let us share with us, I mean, the journey you had to go through and the laws that really put in all the barriers for you guys.
So a lot of times before people want to start a family, they will always want to BTO, get a place together, then start their family from there. But for our case, it was kind of different because a lot of people will be thinking, okay, they have to rent and they can't be renting until they are 35 before they can buy a place. So I would say we are quite lucky because we didn't have that hurdle, because we've already got a place of our own with my dad living with us, because my parents are divorced and that became a blessing in disguise. So at least we already been living together for a long time and we were ready to start a family because we were talking about it within the first 1-2 years into our relationship. We knew when we were teenagers that we wanted to have a kid together, and I guess that became a lot easier for us when we wanted to start our own family. But I would think, when we have our Instagram account and we started reaching out to more people, we realized that housing is definitely an issue. It's a major problem. A lot of people, they are still living with their parents. They haven't even moved out and they haven't even got a place together. Then thinking about having a family together and having a child seems too far for a lot of people.
Yeah. But from a medical perspective, healthcare as a union, as a married couple, what challenges do you face?
I think medical-wise, for Velda, basically she's sort of under like my 100% care, in a way under the law, because Brenda doesn't have anything to do with her, so that under the law. So that is like one huge hurdle. Very often, like when we have to bring her to the doctor, to the hospital, the doctors will question whether Brenda is like a part of and who she is to her. Yeah, so I think that part is one main big thing that we can't change as for now. Yeah.
So from a legal and medical perspective, you have all the final say. And let's say if you are not able or in a position to provide that direction, what happens?
So that is the...
we always wonder if we're out together and then we get into an accident or whatever. Then I'm the only person that can make decisions for both of them, but I'm in no power to do anything.
So what's going to happen?
So when you go at the doctors and she is not,
you want to take off your shoe?
and people ask, especially the nurses, what would you say?
We
been
will
very
just tell
open
them. Yeah,
about
we've
it.
been very
Yeah.
open. So we'll just tell them that Velda has 2 mothers,
Yeah.
and she's also the other mother. Most of the time, the doctors and the nurses are very professional. They wouldn't say anything, but in terms of like signing of any forms or whatnot, it still has to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we also have Andre and Cameron. I mean, thank you so much for being here. Is your journey the same with your experiences in terms of coming out with to your family, to your friends, and proud parents of Tyler?
Oh, okay.
You can talk because yours is probably the most.
Well, I think the coming out has been really different because I came out only shortly after I met Cameron, because I felt that we were so together that I didn't really want to live the life without having him included into my family as well.
And you also spent half your life in
And I spent half my life in Australia as well, so that's where we met. So it was, for me, it was really difficult because coming out, it was actually through FaceTime, so it was really terrible. I was on a conference in Brisbane as well, so it was just how you have courage, and courage usually goes up and then it goes down. It's kind of like waves. So when you're at the peak, you tend to go really abruptly. Just go, okay, I'm going to do this now. But if you miss that moment, it takes a long time for you to get back up to that point again. So when I was in Brisbane at the moment, I felt that I had to tell them, and it was that moment. So I made that phone call, and things just went south. Like they didn't talk to me for a while, and they weren't very accepting. It was a shock. Yeah, so it was a shock to my parents, and it took them a while to actually get used to the idea that that their son is not straight, not gay, and it even took them a little longer to accept, the person that I'm with, that I was with. Whereas Cameron, your story is a little bit easier.
Yeah, look, I found someone that at the time that I thought was going to be the forever person, and I'm an only child, so I told my parents then. The biggest concern that my mother had really was, this means I'm not going to get grandchildren. And I said, they're not mutually exclusive, you can have both. And she probably really didn't believe that until Tyler was born. But, my path wasn't as difficult as Andre's, and sort of seeing how he was having to deal with that because his parents pretty much was, they didn't want to see me. They didn't want anything to do. Fortunately, that changed, and they became welcoming, and I'm a part of the family now. So and they came to our wedding. So that was nice, but it was.
It was easy for me to get through that whole experience with the parents since coming out, because I was living in Australia, so I didn't really have to face them. So
I just had to deal with the text messages.
I just had to deal with the text messages, and like what my sister would tell me, this is what parents are saying. Yeah, so I still continued living my life in Australia the way that I wanted to. So it was nice to now being able to live the way that I wanted to for a very long time in Singapore, as well in Australia.
And look, I've sort of, they have been on a journey themselves, to credit to them in terms of acceptance.
Yeah.
I'm still, in the early stages, was always introduced as, this is Andre's friend, over here when we'd be out to people they knew and things like that. It's gotten better, but the term of, this is Andre's husband is not.
It's not ever going to be there.
Yeah, it's not ever going to be there.
The beauty of it all is that because we have Tyler, our little boy of 2.5 years, they see him as their grandchild, and so that is basically what we want for our relationship. Like that's it. Like for us, as long as they don't look away from the fact that they have a grandchild, everything else, that whatever they say about us or whether they accept us or how they deal with us, it really doesn't matter anymore because it's all about that little boy.
Or perhaps maybe share with them the first Chinese New Year.
Who is this? Like, why is this baby in the middle of the lounge room? And mom was like, this is my grandchild. So thank goodness my parents are both the oldest in the family, so nobody dared to question. Yeah, so they said, oh, okay. And he just looks at, so who's the wife? No wife.
And then you could see the scampering for the red packets. But yeah, it was interesting. It was like a real shock,
I think let's move on to the surrogacy part. But I think in terms of family, it's just very aware of time. We have like when we first had our first date, we kind of knew that we were more or less on the same path. We were a bit older, so we were not like young twins, like trying to date. So we kind of knew exactly where our lives is going to lead us, like how we see our lives. And when we came together, the first few questions were about family. I think about the first or second question was, so do you want kids? And we both answered, said yes, and I thought, wow, okay. So there's
something to work with.
Yeah, because a lot of people, especially in the first date, they probably won't even want to entertain that, or they just think it's a little bit scary. Yeah, so we pursued that, and we realized that we are actually pretty suited for each other. And so after dating for a couple of years, we decided to take the plunge, go down the surrogacy path, and pursue our dreams, basically.
I mean, it's interesting and very exciting that both of you mentioned that you found your forever partner at such a young age.
For us, it wasn't so young.
At such an early point.
Very lucky.
At such an early point of your relationship, but I think there are many couples out there, that may feel the same way, but may not know how to go about it. How to broach the subject with the partner or their family. Maybe for a quick one, I mean, any advice that you can give? Because I know Joshua is waiting to tell us something. But I think that's something that every couple goes through,
sharing that life together and wanting to put all your energies and effort into, another living being and helping them grow and nurture them. I think that's the key to it all. But if you sort of see your life as constantly travelling and it's just about, the couple, then maybe a child isn't for you. But that could be said. The same thing doesn't mean that's either straight or gay. The same thing can apply to a heterosexual couple.
Yeah, so it's that desire to bring up a child. Two individuals, could be a heterosexual, could be a same-sex couple. But why the concern in the community? Why is there a big concern that having a same-sex family might be detrimental to the child, or it just doesn't look right? And what have you heard, and how can we change that mindset?
By having more same-sex couples with kids. If they see more, they'll probably be a little bit more accepting. So I think because they don't actually see a lot, like seeing many like rainbow families walking around, so they kind of think that we are the minority.
And I think people are constantly told what the normal is. From laws made, in this country and other countries, defining what a family is. Now, just because a union between a man and a woman doesn't mean that they're going to make great parents. And, there's been a lot of cases out there where just because you're straight doesn't make you a better parent. And
a child in Singapore is meant to be, like, by law, is meant to be from a male and a female. Like, they can't, because it's
get conceived via natural or something.
So that's the way that they see how a child is being brought into the world.
Let me put it this way. Tyler is growing up, and so is Velda. How would you explain to Tyler or Velda that
you're different because firstly, society can be very evil.
Yes.
Children can be really cruel.
Yes.
Yes.
So when they go to school and they get bullied by friends or even by teachers and they come crying home, how would you explain to them how different is good?
I think the first thing, because Tyler's in school, so he's been in school since 18 months. Yeah, so how we found the school for him is that we interviewed the schools that we wanted him to be in or felt that would be a good fit. And we basically just asked them the really direct questions that we are a modern family, but we are a rainbow family, we've got 2 dads. Do you have any experience in handling families like us? And they can be really honest. We had some, no we don't, and they kind of struggle to kind of give us some kind of answer or to let us, to get us through the door.
We had one that took 2 weeks to get back to us with an answer of no.
Yeah. And there was some who were like, oh yeah, sure, of course, no problem. We had like cases before, not cases that we had like parents before. Sorry, it's my work. Sorry, it was before the cases. Yeah. So we always said like we had parents before with same-sex parents come bring their children here, and we're like, oh okay, yeah, that's great. So we are based on their experience and how they answer. We'll put the kids through. We'll put Tyler through, and we also do ask them about what kind of training or what kind of how the teachers react or how they would teach or handle the situation.
And we found them quite good in this case with Tyler, like Mother's Day and things like that. His previous school didn't do it. They did a really nice dad's card, kind of thing, and made sure that we were there. It wasn't sort of pushing must have a mother, but going forward into school with sort of what you're asking later on, I don't think there is one answer to how we would deal with it. I think that we just need to constantly underline to Tyler that he's loved, he comes from a loving family, and his way he's growing up is normal. It's not abnormal. It is coming from 2 parents that love him. It's just
not even normal.
Well, yeah, but how the rest would see it as abnormal.
Yeah.
You mentioned about laws. The 377 is still around, and there are new laws about adoption, which make it so hard, or I think it's impossible now for same-sex families to have a child. How do you guys feel about it? What can you do?
I guess for us it's still quite different because at the end of the day, our bodies are able to carry the baby. So we know that at any point in time, as long as there's a child from a female, the child will be a Singapore citizen. So that's a different ball game altogether. And probably I just want to touch on whatever they just mentioned for the school-wise. When they are preschoolers, we could do the same thing. We can interview the schools, make sure that they are well and protected. But the minute they enter primary school and secondary school, we can't control what people will say, the environment. So for us, our approach was to tackle from within, which is why when we wanted to have a kid, we shared with our families. One of our procedures overseas, my mom even came with us on that. So we try to involve our family and let them know what to say. As Pauline's stomachs get bigger and bigger, we wanted to let our parents know what to tell their friends and family. So for extended relative even, we just post a normal gender review. We did everything a normal family would do, a normal couple would do to be proud of their baby. And that's also how we prep our families that, we have a baby on the way. And after she's born, we also didn't try to hide her because we want her to know that we are proud of her so she can grow up being proud of us. And I think for us, my personal upbringing and for Pauline as well, because my dad is illiterate and my parents are divorced, I have my own set of struggles as I'm growing up. So I always feel that, if it's a child who has parents with disability or a child that comes from a divorced family or whatever, every
Or a child with no parents.
or a child with no parents, every child will have their own set of issues. So we can't really control what other people say, as long as we focus on exactly what both of them have said, to focus on our child and make sure that our child know that they are loved, and they will probably grow up being resilient enough to deal with all these nasty comments.
Just to build the foundation within,
Right.
Yeah.
to prep them for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now going to the youngest in the group, how did you cope
How did I cope with?
with school, or when you came out and you get bullied? How did you cope?
Not very well. I was bullied quite a bit before I even sort of came into my sexuality. I think it was a lot of policing about sort of masculinity and how a boy ought to behave. I think I was very drawn to a lot of things that were immediately informed to me that this is not right for a boy. I like the Spice Girls over the Backstreet Boys. I wanted to be in the choir. I wanted to be in dance and drama. I wanted to pursue film, and a lot of that had to do with this is not what you're supposed to choose. It's like it's basketball and soccer. You're a big guy, so rugby.
Yeah.
You're a tall guy, so basketball.
Yes. Let's get you on every sport.
Yeah, it was all these different things before I even knew what sexuality was or what my sexuality was, or even like thought of those things, you know? I think I was very much into chasing what I was drawn to first. So it was a lot of bullying, because of the bullying, I did not even want to think of sexuality, you know? So when I started to realize that I was different, I was against being different because I was already different in all the other aspects of my life, right? And I also grew up in a very, very strict Christian household. My dad's a pastor. So there was another level of like, okay, this is like right and wrong, and then there's like righteous, you know, like this is like sinful. And that was hard to wrestle with because there's another layer of like, I'm responsible not only to like, sort of my parents, but also like to God. So it was not very easy at the start, yeah.
Then how do you deal with it? Because at one level it's like your parents,
Yeah.
at another level it's God.
Yeah.
So how did you wrestle with yourself and deal with it?
It took a lot of unlearning about the world and about myself. I think I'm 32 now, and I feel like only at around 27, 26 did I start to have an inkling of who I was. And like I was telling a friend recently, like I felt like I learned how to walk at 28. Like I learned how to, even in relationships, figure out what I want, what kind of partner I am, what kind of partner I want to be with. I've only started to realize the kind of love I'm looking for, how I want to treat people, how I ought to be treated. A lot of these conversations only started coming up at sort of the later part, whereas when you're like 16, 17, you're figuring out your body, you're figuring out another person's body, you're figuring out if this is right, you're figuring out your self-esteem issues, your insecurities, and trying to hit the same beats as everyone else. Like you have your first kiss, you lose your virginity, you know, like you have that kiss in the rain, you have that big dramatic fight. You want to have all these different things that other people have experienced or are experiencing in real time, and then so it took a lot of unlearning. I think it took a lot of unlearning, and I think representation for me as well came at a much later age. I was watching Heartstoppers, which is sort of like a very like a gay drama comedy show meant for pre-teenagers. But watching it as a 32-year-old with another friend who's 32 years old and queer as well, I was like, oh, this would have been so cool if we were 16. Yeah. You know, this would have been so useful, because at least I know now how a relationship can be, as dramatized as it is. You know, because so much of your early part is filled with so much shame, and in denial, and sort of like keeping it a secret and existing in the shadows, that seeing a queer couple live their life in their youth, in the light, is so refreshing. So it takes also a lot of sort of emotion regulation to not be angry at the entire system and be like, I want to be young again and I want to like feel that again from a different life. But it's also sort of like appreciating, okay, I'm grateful to have this now.
So media plays a big role, but here
Yeah.
in Singapore, you can't have any representation.
No.
You're not allowed to have anything related to it.
Yeah.
I mean, you are in the media industry.
Yeah.
What are your challenges? And maybe I think we know that you were invited for a TED Talk.
Yeah.
And you were told that you needed to censor yourself, or even in the general media, IMDA doesn't allow the display or the characterization.
No, they did allow, but then you have to characterize the gay man as someone with STD.
Something negative.
Who is a pedophile and gets caught. If you watch the Channel 8,
So nothing happy.
nothing.
Yeah. So
Gay
all
people
this
are not
takes
happy.
away the young generation the opportunity to learn and understand. I mean, what
it's
improve for you? Yeah.
as unique as the situation is in Singapore, and I think even in Southeast Asia, I think of what the situation's been like when it comes to censorship in Malaysia as well, Indonesia. It is a unique situation, but it's also not that foreign from what everyone has experienced in the queer community before even thinking of media, which is the policing of your thoughts. Right? Don't even think of that because that is vulgar and that is something you should be ashamed about. I think that don't speak about it, don't talk about it, don't look at it, don't ask questions is something that we've been told so much, even before thinking about media or representation. And yeah, you would see, like, would we call sort of like Liang Ximei and Liang Po drag icons, compared to say like Vanda Miss Joachim or Back in the Bus or RuPaul here in Singapore, It was a straight man who's able to do drag on TV, on major platforms, but be able to say, I have wife and kids. This is just sort of the jester role, or this is the comedic thing that I'm just doing, and that's kind of it. And you can have on the front poster of Our Boys to Men, like a character do this at the corner. But the moment he holds hands with another person or is humanized in any way, that's considered like an R21, M18. Like, it's okay to, like, we've heard the Aqua Bapot jokes, we've heard all these sort of things, and that's been completely fine and not policed on, or not told like, hey, you should not say that. But the moment you have the word gay, it's like the scariest thing in the world. Love is like the scariest thing. Yeah, unfortunately the media is that. The media is a lot of gray areas that ironically colorful rainbow people exist in, where there is a very gray area that we live in where it's they call it the alternative lifestyle that you cannot promote. That's the term they use, right? And it actually has no link directly with 377A, because that's a law that criminalizes sex between men in public or in private. It's got nothing to do with, I can be in a relationship with another person and not be sexually active, for example, but or I can say that I'm gay or I'm going on a date that has nothing to do with Section 377A. I can hold hands with the guy, has nothing to do with that, but I can't even be that because it's in the umbrella of alternative lifestyle, which is very much frowned upon. Yeah.
Is that why you form SG Boys?
Yeah, so sort of on the whole TED Talk situation, I was asked to do a TED Talk, and the night before I was asked to censor my TED Talk. So just a little bit of history on that real quick in a nutshell. I've had to do that dance of what I can and cannot say for a very long time. In radio, I'm told this is the code, the IMDA code. I cannot break that code, otherwise I risk losing my job and I risk my radio station getting fined. So I've done it all the time. I'll learn to just hold back my words or just be, I'll just be careful with what I say. I try not to deny my sexuality. I try not to say I'm single, or I try not to, say I have a girlfriend. I think that's something that I'm very, very particular about, because that eats away at me, right? And I did it for a while, and I had to like stop doing that. And when the TED Talk opportunity came about, it came about when I had like a really devastating breakup, which any person who's ever had their heart broken can relate to. And I was feeling it very viscerally, and I was talking about it on social media, and one of my followers actually reached out and said, hey, we're organizing a TEDx at this school, and we'd love for you to share what's going on. And I thought, okay, I've seen a lot of TEDx's, and it's been very, very useful for me in my growth. Here I can be myself. Here I can tell my story, because I wouldn't be able to do that on radio. So I poured a lot of time into writing my script, my first ever TED Talk. This was supposed to be a full circle moment for me. And it was exactly 1 year from the breakup. So I thought, oh, this is definitely meant to be. And then the night before, they called because the teachers had a hold of my script. And the teachers, I got the call from the students saying they would like for me to change the pronouns of boyfriend to girlfriend. They would like for me to remove the part about my coming out story and how tense that was between me and my dad, and just stick to the good parts. And I could not, right? Because having done radio and been in the media for many, many years, I've done that already. So I did not think, okay, when this TED Talk is about embracing your true self, I was not ready to do that this time around.
I really like it that you mentioned being true to yourself.
That was literally the TED Talk series. So everyone else was doing their TED Talks for being true to themselves. And then here I was obviously not. And anyone who's followed me on social media would know that I'm not being true to myself. So and this happened at like 27, 28 years old. So by that point, I had unlearned a lot of that nonsense to not let this fly. So I put my foot down and I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell everyone that life is great when it has not been. And to get to life is great, there was a lot of stuff that we had to go through. So I wasn't going to lie about that. So I pulled out, and then a year later I took a break, and then I started the SG Boys, where it was more of, okay, now we've had Cam and Andre on, so where we can share our stories without that looming over us. So we can just be ourselves and just talk about things that actually all of us can find similarities in.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it's a great platform in terms that, as Josh said, you can say anything and people can relate, I think, that and connect with what the struggles that varying people are having.
I mean, along the same lines, connecting, understanding, it's all about tolerance, it's all about understanding. The government explained that why they're keeping the laws was to also have that balance, between the conservatives and having this alternative lifestyle. But there needs to be a line drawn, how much should there be an empathy, and there should be an understanding. So what can the community do? I mean, I was reading just now and sharing with everyone, there is a voice being vocal, being critical, but yet also having that understanding and the empathy. But I think there needs to be a line drawn. I mean, how much longer can the community go through? I mean, there have been advances, there have been understanding over the last 10 years, but what are your hopes? And we talk about your platform being an ideal platform to be able to share in openness, but why must we only have it on your platform? Can we, as Singaporeans, as friends and family, have more discussions? I mean, how can that, from your individual experiences, be encouraged and championed?
You have the dare to do so. The entire point of us having the SG Boys podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts is that we don't have to be regulated by IMDA. And the only reason we're able to do that is because we were not allowed on the other platforms, right? We were not allowed on the mainstream platforms. There are very clear lines that when a film gets R21, say like Love, Simon, which is a PG-13 film in the US, when a film gets R21, state-run media, which is SPH Media Corp, newspapers, magazines, radio, television, they close their doors to R21 content because free-to-air programming in Singapore on the Channel 5s, the Channel 8s and all that, those are meant for general audiences, right? So anything that falls under the category of adult only, M18 and above, or R21 specifically, there's zero advertising. So a film like Love, Simon will come to Singapore and die in Singapore. A film like Call Me By Your Name would exist only at the projector, where it's like an independently run cinema. So when the platform is not shared, when the mic is not shared, when I've got no problems. I brought up like Liang Ximei and Liang Popo. I've got no problem with Jack Neo doing drag. I think Jack Neo is fine. I'm not knocking Jack Neo, but can that same platform be shared with where that culture came from? Can we have a vendor Miss Joachim on? Can we have these drag icons go up and promote like a Sheng Xiong, you know, without having to run to their heterosexual lives to sort of like blanket this entire situation? The truth is that we have not been daring to share, you know, like I'm grateful that you're sharing the mic here, you know, and we need more of that. We need more of that so that we can avoid a situation where I have to go and start a podcast and fund it myself just so that we can share our voices, because our voices have not been shared for a while. And I do have a thing about the whole tolerance bit, which I'm still trying to not be so angry about. Like I'm trying to still regulate my emotions about this whole thing, because we've lost a lot of queer people in Singapore, and that's the reality, yeah? We've lost a lot of queer people in Singapore because we're not allowed in the space. We're not allowed to sit at the table. So if we're financially able enough to earn enough and leave Singapore and find where we can feel comfortable and safe and have families and get married, we're able to do that. But there are a lot of queer people who are not able to do that. So they continue to exist in the shadows. Suicide rates, anxiety, depression, mental health issues, extremely high in the LGBTQ plus community. You take away rights from any group, any marginalized group, you're gonna have those problems. So I don't fully empathize with the please tolerate us. It's you have not been tolerating us. We have one life on earth, and the quality of a queer person's life in Singapore is incredibly poor. So it's not so much please let me in the room. It's I've been in this room. I've always been in this room. You don't see me. You have not seen me. And you should not be asking me how you can treat me better. You know, you should look at yourself and how you've been treating us and how the places that you've been inviting us to. You know, I don't hear a lot of straight people stressing out about queer people in the room, but queer people have been stressing out about being themselves in straight places as they're the abnormal ones compared to the normal ones like everyone else. So that's kind of how I feel.
Because it should be everyone's equal. So why should I tolerate you? Or why should you even tolerate me? Yeah. So why can't we treat everyone equal?
I would love that. I love that. But the reality is far from that. I think we tell everyone, not so much even about the equal thing, that we're all different, we're all unique, different. At such a young age, we're told that, but we don't know how to treat each other who are different, you know, and it goes beyond sexuality. It's race, it's people from different economic backgrounds. Everyone's different, people with different personalities or passions, but then we kind of decide what should be valued and what should not be valued. So over time, that desire to be bigger and better than someone else kicks in. It's an unhealthy human instinct.
I was going to say, I have a question that I'm interested to get people's thoughts on. Do you actually think the 377A will ever be repealed here in Singapore?
I think it would. It's all about mind share and understanding. And we have seen that the growth and awareness, it's about leadership also. And we see the 4G leaders coming and taking over. And it's all about education. It's all about education and awareness. And I think you rightfully said, being able to see more families, more same-sex families, and then people say they understand. Yes, for me, tolerance is not the word. It's the understanding and the acceptance, because there's nothing wrong.
But it didn't happen quietly, yeah? So if we think about, like, say, Stonewall riots and why that shift changed, why we even have pride, it's because queer people, trans people who led the front said we're not gonna allow this anymore. It's the same thing for Pink Dot. It wasn't something that, hey, let's all dress up in pink and be cute and like, please give us some rights. It was that realization that no, we will not stand for this anymore. We've always been here. And the growth of Pink Dot is not more and more people turning gay. It's more and more people standing up as well, saying that we're not gonna just sit around and beg for you to notice us. It's we've always been here. This needs to be fixed. And our voices is getting louder, even though we don't have the mics pointed to us. And the incredible thing about social media, the incredible thing about activism today existing on social media, the incredible thing about Netflix and being able to watch something like Heartstoppers at the age of 31, 32, is the power is starting to switch hands, right? People are starting to realize that their voices can be heard now. So that's why I do believe 377A can be repealed. Okay. Do I think that the problems that we've been facing when it comes to bullying, when it comes to how people treat each other, 377A gets repealed, suddenly all of us are equal? I don't think so. It's going to take a long time, because that IMDA thing about alternative lifestyles is not directly linked to 377A. Yeah. So you can potentially still see a queer film come out in Singapore as an R21 film and still find no marketing, advertising whatsoever. It will still be very, very difficult when it comes to marriage, when it comes to housing, when it comes to adopting a child, because that's not exactly linked to the wording of what's on 377A, so that's still an uphill climb for us. I think that's just the start.
Well, that requires the change to the definitions of what is considered family.
Yeah.
So can the community, I mean, we talked about acceptance, we talked about IMDA, but the question is, do we really need IMDA? You know, with social media, with the larger community, can we project, can we educate, can we showcase by how we live our life, amplify it using social media? Or do we still need mainstream media? Do we still need IMDA? I'm not talking about legal aspects, about law, medical, but educating, you know. Do we still need IMDA? Or we just don't care, you know? You have your own podcast, we have this platform. We can educate, we can create that awareness on our own. How does the community rally together? Is the community really, as after so long, is there a fatigue, or is there, no, we're still going on?
But isn't it really a case of a generational thing? Your younger people will embrace the newer platforms and things, podcasts and stuff like that. But it's still that older generation that are still very much Channel 5 is everything, and the mainstream media, Straits Times, you know, all of those is where they consider to get the news, the information. It's their gospel, effectively.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I would sort of say.
To me, I feel that media is definitely one very good point to, you know, make our society a more inclusive one. But personally, based on our own experience for the past 2.5 years, I will feel that our boomer generation are more accepting. Yeah, which is quite interesting, because you would think that with social media, the young generation, the millennials, will be the ones who are, you know, able to accept family units as such. But when you really ask people, you'll be surprised that the people who are, you know, in their 40s and 50s, or even in their 60s, and our grandma's generation in their 80s, they will just tell us, as long as you're happy, do whatever you want. Because they've been through a generation of changes. Yeah, and I guess it's about the individual. So for us now, I feel it's just about leading our own life, being proud of who we are, and that's more important, especially for people who are thinking about starting a family. If they have that thought of wanting to start a family, why wait till, you know, the laws approve for them to do so? Why not think about alternative ways to get what they want in their own capacity? Yeah, we are just very regular, typical Singaporean. This is our home ground. This is where we love our country. And like what a lot of people say, I love my country, does my country love me? Yeah, we don't see ourselves, you know, being forced to migrate overseas just because we want to have a better life, or rather because we feel that even if we go overseas, people are going to be more vocal there. People are going to say they're going to hurl verbal abuses at us, and so on. So it's more about, you know, creating your own environment and finding the right support. And slowly from there, I think when people start to get to know us and they realize that our family units is just like any other family unit, and this will just become like a wave effect. Yeah.
Let's talk about family unit. Can the community grow from a family unit and then the multiplier effect, or we need to go down the pink dot way where rarely more people coming together? I mean, what's the future you foresee? The best way forward?
I think there's many ways to do it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of each way all together. will create an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For us, we are at Pink Dot every year because we run a balloon business, right? And we are at Pink Dot every year for the balloons. And it's just about, being there and letting people be in that space with people that are like them. Yeah. For us, we feel like, every time when we are there, it's always this like heart-stirring moment and a lot of emotions just going through. It's just that feeling of knowing that you're not alone. And, together we become a voice together. But, it doesn't mean that we are only proud of ourselves only on Pink Dot Day. Yeah. We can't just come out because of Pink Dot. For me, I tried to officially come out to my family after one of the Pink Dot years many years ago. And when I went back, I told my family that, I'm gay, I'm with Berlin for the past donkey years. They're like, yeah, we know. So then it's not just like a one day thing, but like exactly like what you say about the courage and stuff like that. Or that day I just felt like I needed to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's pointless because when people around you, they know and they see that you bring out the best in your partner and sometimes the worst. But if they see you bring out the best in your partner most of the time, then they will start to accept you, and extended families and all will slowly come together. For us, maybe I just wanted to add on a little bit. When we decided to have Velda, we thought that we will receive a lot of negative comments from our extended families, like Chinese New Year and so on. We have always been attending each other, side of the family's parties and gatherings, but we never officially come out. And I'm always just Pauline's friend. Pauline is just always my friend. But when we decided to have Velda, our extended families really went all out to make us feel included. Like they gave us specially embroidered stuff when they were overseas and they saw our baby gender reveal announcements, and they prepared something from overseas, and Pauline's extended family prepped food for her confinement just so that we have proper food and we are eating well and stuff like that. These are things that is their way of showing us that they are supportive of us. They might not be supportive of the entire community, but at the very least they are showing us baby steps by supporting our relationship. Yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah, and I feel this effect matters a lot because of Pride Month. We've been doing a lot of Zoom sharing. And in the first place, it's quite funny. Why do we have to have a Zoom session or even something like that now to tell people that we are a family? Why do we have to introduce and present ourselves to
As
others?
the family,
Yeah.
This is our family.
This is
This is our family.
Yeah. But then again, when when we are doing it, and sometimes during Q&A, people ask interesting questions like, how do they show us that they are supportive? Because being in our kind of society, we don't know how to share our support. We don't know how to encourage people because we are not trained to verbalize our thoughts.
Well, and too, sometimes within the community can be its own worst enemy.
Yeah, correct.
And that's that's the thing. You want to ensure that love builds throughout.
Yeah.
Which essentially goes back down to education.
Yeah.
But then, the media part is blocked. So I think a lot of people, it's not that they're not supportive or they're not encouraging, but it's just that they don't know how to as well. Later, okay? When we go home.
I think even for schools, I mean, the MOE does claim to have counsellors all in place, but we have seen the challenges of queer kids. How important is it to understand and to have someone to speak to, or just being accepted at a young age? I mean, you talk about your struggles, and you look back and you say, no, why did I have to go through this? And only being able to feel accepted or be accepted at a much older age. I mean, what can be done for the younger kids?
I think you just answered your own question. Like you asked, how important is it to sort of guide an individual through that period of life? Extremely important, regardless of their sexuality. But more so when you're dealing with a group that is different, a community that's different, a type of person that's different, and is being mocked on various levels for being different, instead of praised or encouraged to explore, or given examples of how there are positive templates of a relationship to look up to. There are happy people like them. When they're not seeing any of that, they're outlook in life is very poor already. So all the more you really need to guide them through that period of life. Because, it's like, how important is a counselor to a straight person? You know how important is a counselor to a gay person? They're both very important. Especially more so when someone is marginalized. Yeah.
So long as the counsellor knows how to appropriately
Exactly.
communicate and deal with what's in front of them.
So those kind of resources I'm not confident about those kind of resources there. I was grateful enough to have a teacher who I actually met up with recently and had on the podcast, and he's gay, and he told me he was gay when I was in secondary school. He could tell that I was gay, and he was this positive person to me. He told me that he was in a relationship with a boy and he was in love, and I had never heard of anything like that. As a gay person, I never heard of anything like that. I thought it was just immediately when I was experiencing what I was experiencing at that age, coming into my sexuality, it was just more of like, I need to get rid of whatever I'm feeling, because otherwise I'm going to hell, my parents are going to disown me, I'm going to have no friends. All the things that people already say about me for like not joining basketball are going to be amplified even more. So there are all these things that I hate myself over, and now it's going to be even worse. So my teacher is saying that, hey, I'm gay and I'm happy and I'm your teacher, and I'm in love, just completely changed my outlook.
I have something to add on that.
Yeah.
I think it really makes a lot of difference, because when I was in poly, my teacher asked me, is Pauline your girlfriend? And I'm like, should I lie about it or should I say the truth? So I told her the truth, and she was so sweet. Our whole team had a basketball jersey. I was in the basketball team. We had our school name in front and our names at the back. She made a jersey for Pauline with my name in front and her name at the back.
Aww.
So that's her way of telling us. At that point in time, I didn't know she was gay too, but I attended like her what's it called? Her engagement party, and now she has 2 kids of her own as well. But back when I was in secondary school, I was taking neoprene, right? During my time, neoprene with my friend, and I got sent for counseling, even though it was a neoprene with someone who's really my friend and not my girlfriend. So I guess, being sent for counseling for taking a photo with your friend, to going to poly and meeting a teacher who bothered to, tell me that she accepts me for who I am, that makes a lot of difference for me.
Yeah, that's the education that we need.
Yes.
Unfortunately, sort of, that's not encouraged. There seems to be sort of this assumption that anything to do with being queer should only be discussed when you turn 21. Hence sort of that R21 rating, sort of like Buzz Lightyear and that rating system, that it's like adult, mature content, that you only have any kind of inkling of who you are at that age only, when everyone else, that's completely not true. Ask any straight person when they started caring about someone else or had a crush on someone. We had the exact same things. It's just that it was immediately sort of like met with shame, immediately reacted to so violently, even at times. So that shapes a kind of person, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes like a really special, incredible person like a teacher to come in and like tell you that's not true.
And the acceptance.
Yeah.
I think that really made a difference.
Yeah, acceptance is important.
And it was a risk for that person to do that, yeah? Let's not forget that. It's a risk. They're not encouraged to be like that. They're not encouraged to have that interaction with a student. My teacher could have gotten in serious trouble for telling me he's gay and he has a boyfriend, right? And that can be viewed in a very perverse manner by people who want to view it that way. But he completely changed my life. So there's already right there a huge dissonance between what is beautiful that he did by going rogue.
Yeah, and he should be applauded for being honest and instead of punished.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we hope this little stories, these nuggets of experiences would inspire people who are teachers, people who are counselors, who are in a position to help someone, that we don't want anyone to go through the same journey that each one of us had to go through. I mean, in these modern times, I think there is no need to make the same mistakes. You know, so I think that's where we hope through this platform, through the Big Read, the discussions that we hear the stories, the acceptance, but more importantly, the courage of individuals in your lives that had really made a difference. I think we need to hear more, because these are inspirations. These are our role models that moving forward, that hey, it can be done, and as a teacher, as a counselor, I should do it because it made a difference. It made a difference. I mean, so just to sum up, I mean, thank you for coming in and sharing with us. It's not been difficult, but what were the joys? I mean, Tyler, Velda, and yourself, what are the joys that you guys have experienced in your relationships?
Oh, I think the joy for me or for us?
Yeah, for us.
I think being a family, regardless of where we are, regardless of what other people think about us as a family, that's the joy already. I mean, we have already told each other that, it's just, where, as long as we're together, doesn't matter where we are, and we'll always be, laughing, we'll always be smiling, we'll be creating joy and laughter with our, three of us. And that's, to us,
if need be, we'll wear our armor, we'll deal with whatever comes along.
Yeah, whoever that we need to protect, like the little one, we will do whatever that we can. But we also always going to be very happy doing it, because this is our choice. This is what we want, and
and the sheer joy of when he was born. You just can't really put that into words. Like, holding him for the first time, and then living everything now through his eyes as he experiences new things.
We've got no regrets.
No, definitely not.
Decisions that we've made, especially to have a family, definitely not.
Yeah.
Exactly what they said. We made the choice. This child is definitely not an accident that we didn't think through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why we really treasure what we have right now, and we just want to let other people who are thinking about trying know that it's possible. Yeah.
There's always a way out.
Yeah.
My joy?
Your joy.
Where do I find my joy?
No, the joy, you have now. It's like the long hours.
Where do I find my joy? I think it's that exact realization that I'm sure they've also felt, which is they have one life on earth. They deserve to love. We deserve to love. We deserve to be loved in return, just like everyone else. We're all very different, but we also actually are very, very similar. And we want to feel happy. We want to feel happy when we make other people happy. And we're not going to let someone rob that opportunity to have all those things from us as well. As wonderful as those examples of joy is, it took a lot of courage to be like this, to be comfortably in relationships, to have children. It took a lot of understanding what the consequences can be if it goes wrong, and still doing it anyway. And that joy came with a lot of risk. So it's the same for me. I find a lot of joy in being myself, because it's taken a long time to get to being okay with myself, being able to walk and now being able to run and function. So that's kind of where my joy comes from. It comes from the present, it comes from being conscious, it comes from protecting myself, it comes from protecting others like me. That is currently where I'm at.
No, I mean, you guys are an inspiration.
Oh, thank you. Well, it does take a long time to really love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think everybody here that we know that there's always that somebody who would, that put you down, or make sure that you can't be yourself completely. And if you just take that moment to realize that this is your life, and you just want to live it to the best that you can, you just don't have to worry about what other people think, and you'll just naturally be happy.
And surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think I really appreciate on a personal level also. I see the rationalization, the joy, the one life, to lead your life as how you choose to lead it, and most importantly, the joy of these little ones running around. So thank you so much. Thank you for being on this
Thank you for having
Big
us.
Read Unwrapped. I think I'm very happy. I mean, to be able to be among you guys, to hear from you, and keep up the work, keep up the championing, the joy, and just being yourself. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.